And the cast is two of the stars of I'm Still Here, Walter Salles, Fernanda Torres, and Selton Mello. Thank you for being here. I'll start with you, Walter. I know that you have a very personal connection to this family and this story. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that personal connection and how it influenced the making of the film?
Yes, well, obrigado, as we say in Portuguese to start with. I was 13 years old when I met one of the 5 kids of this family. The girl in the middle, the one who goes to pick up the shirt, you know, when the military police invade the house. She embraced me in a really difficult moment for me because I was coming back to Brazil after 5 years living abroad, and I found a country under military dictatorship that I couldn't recognize. I didn't recognize my own country. And in that house, there was still another Brazil pulsating. There was music, forbidden music at the time, you know, a lot of that. There were people discussing politics freely. There was an extraordinary energy, as if another country was possible. And we drifted to that house every single weekend. You know, because it was fascinating. It was everything but the reverse angle of that, which was the military dictatorship and the censorship that came with it, and the armed policemen a little bit everywhere, you know. And the last place where I thought that a tragedy would hit was in that house. But because there was so much generosity in it. There was the doors. The door had no lock in that house. The windows were constantly open. I remember very well the luminosity in that house. You know, and I was really shocked one day to go to it during, it was a Wednesday, January 20th, 1971, and the house was blocked by police and was locked for the very first time. So, 35 years later, 40 years later, Marcelo Rubens Paiva, the second youngest kid in the family, wrote this luminous book about his family, and I fell in love with it, and it somehow allowed me to reopen that house, cinematographically. So that was the beginning of the adventure.
I feel like audiences have seen plenty of films about the military dictatorships in Argentina and Chile, but not as often in Brazil. Is there a reason why we haven't seen this narrative as often in Brazilian cinema?
Yes, a very, very clear one. Argentina and Chile judged the crimes of the military dictatorship. Brazil did not. So we never fully severed, the past from the present. And this is why there are so many Chilean films about the military dictatorship and Argentinian films about the Argentinian dictatorship, but very few about the longest dictatorship in Latin America. Ours lasted for 21 years. And nobody had the impression that it was going to last more than 4 or 5 years. Somehow you have the impression that oppression has a time, to then transition to something else. It's the opposite. If you don't resist and if you don't offer a form of resistance like Eunice did. You know, you don't overcome it.
Fernanda, first of all, you're extraordinary in this film. Congratulations. Thank you. I think part of what makes your performance so incredible is that it doesn't fall into melodrama. It's a very sort of muted performance of a woman who has to keep a family together while dealing with this trauma. I wonder if you could talk about how did you create this character? Was it entirely from what's on the page, on the book, in the screenplay?
Mostly, we try to be faithful to her, because Eunice, I mean, she's a tragic figure. She's a tragic heroine who faced an injustice of, it's so unjust what happened to her that she would be allowed to have self-pity, to be crying, to be a victim. But very early, Eunice, the character, the real one, she decided that to be a victim was a way to say to the dictatorship that they won. So from the beginning, her smile and her gentleness and her persuasiveness, I don't know the word in English, was like the way she fought against the dictatorship. And what's strange about this woman is that she starts like this madman, perfect housewife. And this tragedy makes her become herself. So I asked Marcelo once if he thought his mother would become herself if this tragedy, because it's very strange. In this progressive family, Rubens didn't like the idea of Eunice working. So, I mean, he was a madman man. And then through tragedy, she goes back to university with 5 children, with no money, and she becomes herself. So she's just a heroine for all of us during this time. It's not only Trump, it's like the apocalypse, the global warming, the pandemic. We're so afraid. We're so afraid. And this woman's such a guide for us that in these dark moments, how you can create something unique out of yourself. So and we wanted to be faithful to her and to do not do a melodrama. And also I think because Walter has lived in that house, he was almost obsessive with the truthness in everything, in the costume, in the house, because he in his memory, I think, in your memory, you knew how to divide fiction from reality, and he's a documentarist. So when I saw the movie, I said, my God, we look so honest. That was like, I never felt so honest in a movie, because through restraining the emotions, in a way, I think the audience feels for you. So if you show everything, oh, look how well I can cry, or how well I can scream, then you do what the audience should be doing for you. And this film creates such an empathy for her and for the family. Something so real that's really rare to feel. And I think was your kind of guidance to pursue truthfulness. Thank you, Walter.
Selton, your character is only on screen for a limited time, but you leave clearly a lasting impression. How did you create this madman man?
In an odd madman way. I mean, thanks for coming. It's a very special night for us, and I want to thank Sean for this first speech in here. It was very meaningful for us and for me, because you're an idol. And then, yes, Rubens Paiva, I just had photographs of him I didn't see any images in movement. And then I spoke to Marcelo and the sisters. And the idea, it was not to know how he walks or how he talks. The idea is to feel what's his mood, what he delivers in the room, and how what he represents to his family, to his friends. And then, so that's why I always talk about that this film is very, I mean, this work for me is very spiritual approach, more than a technical approach, because I had this 30 or 40 minutes to portray this man remarkable enough to resonate through the film. And I think I said some word very important here. It's to feel. I mean, in this era, like social media, etc. I mean, we have a lack of to feel, and I think this film allow you to feel a lot, and then I love this idea, you know, to fill the screen with full of grace and then you can feel this man. And then I think we did a work to resonate beyond the screen. I mean, we have some statements that some Brazilian friends, and not only Brazilian friends, who said that, so I remember you filmed like 3 days ago, and I'm still moving by the film 3 days after the screening. So this is very powerful. And the way Walter managed this in a very delicate way, in a very elegant way, just like he did all his works, you know, Motorcycle Diaries, Central Station. I'm a big fan of Walter before to be a partner. And then, yeah, we're super proud of this human film, human. And it's not, it means a lot to do something human now.